mind. They continue to mute my mic, so I have to keep my finger pressed against the mouse just in case they mute my mic again. But again, welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid. Let's get into it before they start knocking me off there and start playing with the audio and everything like that. So, American and Western hypocrisy knows no bounds. I continue to tell you and I continue to harp on this and continue to remind you that as long as America or Great Britain or a European nation dominated economically, technologically, militarily, and politically, then it was a acceptable world order. But now you have a rising power such as China and rising powers such as the BRICS that are challenging the perception of global dominance, global politics, global order. Now that you have those, all of a sudden there's a threat perception. Now I want to bring something to your mind. Okay, let me see something real quick while I'm doing this. David Moss, shout out to you. Thank you. Hit the like button. Thank you, David. Now I want to bring something to you. So bear with me for a minute, okay? Everybody, just bear with me for a minute because this is on the spot. I haven't been able to stream because of the storms. As a matter of fact, it was just storming not too long ago and it let up. And so what I did, I got on my solar generator or whatever like this, and I did this thing right here so that I can come to you and talk to you guys. But I want you to think about the hypocrisy here, okay? And I'm gonna point out multiple levels and multiple areas of hypocrisy while we're talking, okay? So, hi from DK, Collie Bean. Shout out to you too. Check this out. Now let us look at this. America and Great Britain and the European Union says that they deem China as the most pressing threat to the so-called rules-based order. Now, while right before the show went live, I was just searching Google. Google has scrubbed a lot of things that I used to bring up on the show and just put in the keyword, show you how to get to it, and it would take you right to it. And so prior to the show coming up, I'm talking about minutes before, I'm searching this. Oh, Denmark. I'm sorry. Shout out. I'm sorry, Denmark. But listen. So I'm searching the internet and everything. And a lot of the stuff is scrubbed, just like when I showed you on the last show, they scrubbed the definition of the rules-based international order and how it is in contravention and how it is actually diametrically opposed to the international law and international order. So they've scrubbed that and they've scrubbed a lot of other stuff on here, but we're going to get to something. Now, as long as the Western world could dominate and pretty much throw its weight around, everything was cool. And the West told us that this was a peaceful global order that was predicated on human rights, democracy, freedom, territorial integrity, national sovereignty. Now let's look at that. While telling us these things, they violated, whenever necessary, international law, territorial integrity, national sovereignty, and the will of the people of those nations whom they deemed to be a threat. Okay? Nobody has persecuted and prosecuted more wars, especially in the 20th century, than the North Atlantic Terrorist Organization led by the Grand Master of Terror, the United States of America. There's no denying this. It's been at war almost every year of its existence, right? Now, they want you to believe that a rising global South, the rise of the BRICS, right, and the rise of alternative poles of power and influence is a threat to peace and security. Now, I want you, let's do an experiment for a second. Show me an area of the globe where America and the Western world or NATO have brought peace and security and stability there. And where you can go there right now and there's not cultural divides, racial divides, economic divides, political divides. Show me. And some might say, well, Europe. And I'll say, you're a lie. They bombed the hell out of Yugoslavia. They balkanized Yugoslavia. Right? We look at Ukraine. They're balkanizing. Russia is doing what Russia needs to do to secure Russia's interest in sovereignty. Right? But this was brought to you by the great old US of A. With its unquenchable desire and thirst for total world domination. Make that make sense. Think about this. I want you to think about the hypocrisy. Whenever someone rises up to challenge American or the Western world in a certain sphere that they've dominated in, they become threats, rivals, dictators, tyrants, right? War criminals, all of these things. Look how they even treat their own so-called allies. Man, it's one thing to be an enemy, but it's fatal to be an ally of America. Look at how they have promoted the deindustrialization of their so-called ally Germany. This is not just by America. This is the UK helping this. Because remember, the UK has a military base in Germany also. Germany has not been deoccupied. Most people don't know that. It is still occupied by the Western powers. I'm not making this stuff up. That's why no matter what the national interest is, be it Italy, be it France, be it Germany, they can oppose American dictates only up to a certain degree. And then they have to fall in line or face the wrath of an irrational, illogical, hell-bent power that is hell-bent on total world domination. They have helped to deindustrialize the second most prosperous Western nation, Germany. Now, they deem China as the most pressing threat. I want you to just pay attention to this. They deem China as the most pressing threat to the global order because it challenges the US, because it challenges the UK, because it challenges Western total domination. So at the same time, listen, China is the most pressing threat, yet America does not hesitate to send her ambassadors and her leaders over there to beg for a handout to buy more treasury bonds. Oh, I'm your enemy, and you're surrounding me with military bases. You're demonizing me and you're sanctioning me from critical technology because you're saying I'm your enemy, and at the same time, you want me to invest in your roads, your infrastructures, your train, your railing, your energy grid. You want me to buy your treasuries, all of your debt. But I'm demonized on a daily basis. I'm stealing your technology. Man, I'm telling you, listen to this. I'm stealing your technology. I'm spying on you when you have the most elaborate, most covert spy operation on the face of planet Earth, where you spy on everybody from friends to enemies alike. And I'm spying on you. I'm stealing your technology, and I have high-speed railway and trains, and you can't build them. I'm stealing your technology when I have 2 hypersonic weapons, and you are still in the phase of trying to cobble together one. I'm stealing your technology, right? I want you to understand. When I have working rail guns, which you had a 20-year head start over me, and you have none. I'm stealing your technology. I'm stealing your technology when 2 years ago, my supercomputer became the fastest supercomputer on the planet, outstripping your supercomputer. But I'm stealing your technology. Huh? Well, the Chinese are evil. The Chinese are this. The Chinese are that. They stole our jobs. They stole this. See, this is, man, I'm telling you, I'll tell you what. They don't tell you that the true scenario of the situation. The reason the United States transferred the manufacturing capacity to China was multiple folds. Cheap labor, cheap skilled labor, right? And the recycling of dollars. The United States needed them to recycle dollars, just the same thing that they tried to do and are trying to do with Saudi Arabia. We'll build up your infrastructure and all of this stuff, but you got to sell your oil in dollars, and then we'll allow you to recycle your dollars. The same thing But China is to blame. See, somebody needs to point these things out. Someone needs to point these things out. I want to pull up something real quick. I was looking at Bloomberg, I believe it was. Let me see if I can pull it up over here. Give me a second. Let's see. Let me see real quick. Give me 1 second. Because let's see. I know it. Here we go. I knew I had it somewhere. Okay, Business Insider. I'm sorry. I said Bloomberg. Business Insider. Now, I'm going to bring this up in just a second now. But before, I want to go to something else. Now, this comes up over here on this computer. So I'm over on this computer, but I'm going to come back to this computer over here while I'm talking to you on this computer, okay? So you guys bear with me, all right? I'm multitasking. So there's an article that comes out on Market Insider. And the title of this is, U.S. corporate debt default surged 176% as the Fed's war on inflation pushes more companies into financial distress. Now, why did I bring that up? So it goes back to the United States want to prosecute and persecute more wars against China. Okay, give me a second. Something is happening over here. Give me 1 second. It's freezing over here. Come on, StreamYard, don't do this. Am I on this one? Or am I on this one? Hold on 1 second, everybody. They do this every time I try to get to you guys with the truth. Stop. All right, we'll move this one out the way. Give me 1 second. I hope they haven't taken me off the air. All right, here we are. All right, we're back. So again, you see what I have to go through to talk to you guys. Okay, why did I pull that up? Because there's growing homelessness, growing poverty, growing unemployment, banks shutting down, businesses shutting down. And the United States continues to live off debt, which in all reality is the gratuity of nations around the world willing to buy her debt, and also the Fed buying her debt, which is like the crack dealer smoking his own crack and thinking nobody's aware that he's a crackhead. All right. And one day you see him flashy with all the gold and all of the jewelry and the nice cars, private jets, all of this stuff, right? He's the crack dealer, the dope dealer. And he starts smoking his own dope. And little by little, you see the rings disappear off the finger. The nose is always tooted up. The clothes become a little more worn down. He's not as sharp as he used to be, right? Lips become black, right? I'm serious, all right? The plane disappears, and every time something disappears, they offer an excuse of why it's not their fault. Oh, I loaned this to my cousin. Oh, I loaned it. They have a lie at the ready, no matter what. And then the more and more you look at that crackhead or former dope dealer, the more you can see that something's not right with him, because he was sharp, he was flashy, he was debonair. You know, he had that sway about himself, right? No longer confident, and always yapping to try to keep you off guard and try to keep you unaware that he started smoking his own supply. And what used to be stacks of $100 bills become a stack of a few $100 bills wrapped around a few dollars to make it big. All right. This is what we're seeing with the American empire. This is what we're seeing with the British Empire. This is what we're seeing with the Western world. They don't want the world to be aware that they've been caught smoking their own crack. The Federal Reserve, again, has been smoking its own crack. I print the money, right, with nothing to back it. Then I loan the money, but I yet have nothing to back it but the force of the U.S. military. And at one time, that was enough. But now with rising powers like Iran, like Pakistan, if Pakistan stays in the corner of the global south, we see China, we see Russia, right? So she can't militarily impose her will on those nations. And now they are buddying up with other nations saying, hey, we'll help you out. We'll help you to be able to give the empire a bloody nose without direct confrontation. Because the more bloody noses that she gets, right, the more worn out she becomes. And without the unlimited purse strings, she becomes a tattered, worn out old crackhead, right? This is what we're looking at with America. This is what we're looking at with the Federal Reserve. Listen, nobody reported on this. I believe it was last year. It was. The United States had a debt sale. I believe it was last year. And nobody bought the debt. They canceled the sale and it was buried. It was buried under all the news. Nobody said anything else about it. It was a publicized debt sale and no nation bought the debt. And when you find out who bought the debt, guess who it was? The Federal Reserve, because they couldn't find no foreign takers. Isn't that something? Now, I'm going to bring your attention to something else over here, all right? On this computer, which is to my right but to your left, there's an article by Business Insider. And this article is titled, and it came out today, all right? Today. And it came out today at 12:33 a.m. Well, that was way early this morning. And the title of this article is very revealing. And the reason I say that it is very revealing is because we go back to something. At one time, America was the unrivaled, unchallenged global superpower, global hegemon, where everybody wanted her goods. Everybody wanted something from her. And she was able to feed and clothe and trade with the world ad nauseum, because after World War II, she came out practically unscathed, and she was the industrial powerhouse. She was the manufacturing powerhouse. That is no longer the case today, and it is something very, very peculiar that you should pay attention to in this title of this article, okay? Because if America wants to wage war, which we see her waging a proxy war with Russia, and we see that Russia is out manufacturing, out producing, outgunning not just Ukraine, but the entirety of the North Atlantic Terrorist Organization, NATO. Then what Russia's manufacturing and military manufacturing capacity is dwarfed by the Chinese. And I want you to listen to the title of this article. And remember, this is the first time I'm reading it with you. But I saved this title because I said, whoa, I've been looking for something like this ever since they scrubbed the MS. Ever since they scrubbed the internet of this stuff like this. But the title of it is this: China has the capacity to build PLA, which is the People Liberation Army Navy. They didn't put the N up in there. The PLA combat ships at 200 times the rate that the U.S. can, per leaked U.S. naval intelligence. 200 times. Now, what's significant about that? It takes technology. It takes ingenuity, right? It takes skilled labor, right, to do that. One of China's naval ports where they build ships is bigger than all of the U.S. Facilities in the United States. Did you know that? Did you know that there was a report that came out? And it's on my Patreon. I had the report and everything on my Patreon. I cannot think of the name of it yet, though. That the Chinese can outproduce not just the United States, but all of NATO. They can do in 3 months what all of NATO can't do together in a year or 3 years, something like that, and producing warships and warplanes. Now, what's significant about that? China has the capital to bag that. Her debt situation. Listen, do not let the Western pundits, the Western investors, fool you about this. Yes, China has massive debt, but China's debt is internal debt. That's the difference. Now, listen, I'm going to give you an example so that you can understand. And you know me, I'm the king of analogies. So check this out. Say, for instance, I'm giving out IOUs, and this IOUs is to sustain my household. And my children are buying my IOUs, and my wife is buying my IOUs. And if my mother stayed with me, my mother was buying IOUs, right? We'll call it, even if they're not staying with me, they're in-house because they're family. Family members are buying my IOUs to keep the whole family afloat, right? So I might be printing up a lot of debt to keep the family afloat, but the entirety of the family benefits from the debt that I print up, right? So even if we have a falling out, even if we have a disagreement, even if, me and one of my family members have to go out in the yard and squabble a little bit, we know that they won't dump the debt because it would not just hurt me, it would hurt the entirety of the family, including themselves. Okay? Now, let's flip the script. The United States, a huge portion, trillions upon trillions, are owed to outside the nation. Right? Now, you're making war with me, you're destabilizing me, you're having revolutions and color revolutions and your assassinations, and then you're stoking tensions. Now, you're doing it with everybody in your neighborhood and in the next city. And you're printing up debt, and everybody has it, and everybody buys it. After a while, after so much antagonization by you, guess what people get ready to do? To dump the debt. Even though it may hurt them a little, it is not a threat to the security and livelihood of their family. So guess what they'll do? They'll suffer a little to make you suffer a lot. That's what America is. This is the difference between China's debt and the U.S. debt. But nobody elaborates on this because they want you to believe that China is in just as bad an economic situation as the United States is. Why? Projection. If I can make you believe that China is about to collapse economically, surely you would want to put all your eggs in the basket with me. And I've been the global superpower, and I've shown you my riches for the last 30 to 40 years, right? Even though it's all a facade. But illusion is what rules the world now, right? So I want to keep you encapsulated in illusion. You understand? So let's go further. According to this, it says China's shipbuilding capacity has dwarfed U.S. capabilities, per leaked U.S. Navy intelligence. A Navy spokesperson confirmed the leaked material's authenticity to Fox News Digital. China has the world's largest Navy and could have a fleet of 440 ships by 2030, per the Pentagon. Now, stop right there. We have a projection. They projected the Chinese military, and it has become the largest ground forces in the world, right? I'm not talking about antiquated forces. I'm talking about modern, up-to-date, effective forces now. The army, right? They now have the largest Navy in the world. I'm not talking about just having the most ships. I'm talking about they have advanced warships. As a matter of fact, according to Australia, I think it's Australian Power, China has the most advanced, most powerful destroyers on the planet. So the type O-54 destroyers, they outgun the United States. They have radars that see twice as far. They have missiles that fire 3 times as far. They have more missiles on their ships. They have more defenses on their ships, according to that. I'm not making this up. Hell, I don't know about that. I'm just giving you the news. Now, let's look at another scenario. Well, it's all one scenario, but let's look at another part of this. America, you have no manufacturing capacity. So if you send a ship to Asia and it gets sunk, and it takes you 10 years to build another one, and another one gets sunk, and another one gets sunk, and your fleet gets sunk. If China can build 200 times more ships than you in a year's time, they can deal with more losses than you can, right? Now check this out. Not just a military loss, but the loss of lives. America has not suffered mass casualties in a war in a long time. How do you think the American populace would feel with whole carrier groups going down? With that DF-21 or DF-31 carrier killing missile that is able to target moving warships. Now check this out. And what do you think the standing would be as the war breaks out in Asia between the U.S. and China? And 93 to 95% of all the goods on the shelves are from China. Do you believe that China will continue to ship those goods? Do you believe that China would not embargo the United States? And if the embargo takes place, and it will, guess what happens? Prices through the roof, products non-existent, bankruptcies, and unemployment as far as the moon. So what does that mean? An economic collapse. So you have foreign reserves. You've been telling us that you have the largest gold reserves, but you won't let anybody audit them. You've been caught, you and Great Britain have been caught exchanging gold when you owed debt and the debt was called and you were supposed to pay in gold. They found out that you was transferring tungsten, which has the same density and makeup of gold. Then you try to put it on China until they traced the records and said, no, these were in US and UK vaults. So you have no gold. You have no manufacturing capacity. You have hardly any shipbuilding capacity. You're in debt, not up to the eyeballs, from here to Pluto, back to Earth, and back to Pluto, and back to Earth again. And you're reliant on China, the very nation that you're trying to encircle and wage war with, for your military uniforms, the motherboards in your warships, warplanes, and destroyers, and your missiles. How does that look? I want you to understand. How does that look? Think about this. Let's use another analogy, people. All right, we have David Moss in the chat. Dave, this is Rashid talking to you. Now, what if I'm antagonizing you, and my whole family livelihood depends on you, and I'm setting up guns, all kinds of weapons on your doorstep? I'm antagonizing you. I'm stoking your household up against you, and every day I'm asking you, hey, I need a loan from you. Hey, I need a loan from you. And every day I'm stabbing one of your family members. Every day I'm kicking one of your family members. Every time you come home from work, I bust out your window. I flatten your tires on your car. Will you continue to loan me that money? And if you don't loan me that money, what happens to me? Huh? Specifically, and especially because I am totally reliant and dependent on the gratuity of David Moss. What do you think happens to me? I'm asking. Because these are things we don't ask. Right? And mainstream and a lot of the big channels don't ask because they have a financial best interest in keeping a lot of this stuff out of your thought process. Because they make their money off of you. That's what they do, right? So I'm just asking. Don't you think what I'm saying has some validity to it? Don't you think that what I'm saying is rational? And if it's rational and it is sensible, then why aren't the policymakers acknowledging these facts? Why aren't the policymakers indulging in discussions on these facts? Right? And what are the ramifications of the willful ignorance of the policies makers for not indulging in conversation on these matters and making plans and contingency plans for these matters? I'm asking. Let's see. I see the chat is going on. Hey, David told me I gotta put this on. He said if I did that to him, this is what would happen to me. Look. SOL. You know what that means. All right. But I'll be out of luck. Right? This is what I'm saying. Oh my God. Oh, Maddie, salute. But I'm just saying, I'm just rambling on. I'm just talking to you all. Why don't they think about these things? Why don't they talk about these things? If I'm begging you for gratuity and my whole life and existence and the security of my family life depending on you, and I'm stabbing your family members, I'm raping the females in your family, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then I come to you and say, hey, I need another loan because I got to pay my mortgage and I got to pay this. Dave is right to say that I would be SOL. I'm telling you, that's common sense. But since it's not so common today, right? Man, I'm telling you, think about this. How are you going to wage a war? Let's read a little bit more of this article. All right, I thought that was the end of the article, that the free part of the article, but I see something else. It says, listen to this. China's shipbuilding capacity is 232 times greater than the U.S., per leaked U.S. Navy intelligence. A leaked U.S. Navy briefing slide with the information circulated online in July per the War Zone, an online newsletter. The slide was titled Plan, which is the People's Liberation Navy, Army Navy, versus the U.S. Naval Force laydown, and appeared to be marked unclassified. Listen to what it said, because I'm finding out this with you. This is what it says. According to the data seen in the slide, China's shipyards have a capacity of over 23.2 million tons, more than 232 times greater than the U.S. capacity of less than 100,000 tons. Now, check this out. Now, let's look at that. They can outproduce the United States by 232 times, right? They have a population that is 5 times as big as the United States, 5 times, all right? They graduate people with doctorates and degrees, right? Every year that are in the tens of millions. Listen to me good. They invest hundreds of billions in education. They invest hundreds of billions in R&D. That's research and development. They have removed what would be equivalent to the entire population of America and the European Union out of poverty to the middle class. That's 850 million people that their program has taken from poverty to the middle class. Now, they're the largest trade partners to almost everybody. They're the largest investors in almost everybody, right? They have the largest manufacturing capacity. They have the largest treasury reserves in the world. They have the 4 of the 5 largest banks in the world. Now, common sense would tell me to not pick a war with that. Think about what happened to nations that picked a war with the United States when she was the manufacturing giant of the world. What was the fate of those nations? Even when America started the war with them, what were the fate of those nations? Huh? Do you understand the only thing that is stopping America from being a banana republic right now, from being a banana republic and from being irrelevant on the international scene right now, is America's nuclear weapons? You know that? Because if this was any other nation measured by those metrics, the United States would be considered a has-been banana republic nation. Look at what she's done. She's defunded her educational system. There's violence all in urban America, all in the suburbs of America. There's been a shooting every day in America. As a matter of fact, in the first 100 days of this year, there were as many shootings. Is that a prosperous society? Is that a prosperous society? There's a cultural divide. There's a color divide. Everything that you can divide in America, it is divided in America. It says one nation under God. That's a lie. It's multiple nations. And it's not under God. Well, it is under God, but not the living God. It's under the God of money, power, and domination. That's the God that American politicians worship. They don't worship a God that says, try to make leave a better world than when you came into. No. It's I'm going to get everything that I can, and I don't care who is hurt in the process. Let's see. Let me go in here. It says, and then I see Medi's. Okay, Medi asked a question. Let me go to Medi and I'll come back to David. Medi says, here we go. Is it going to come up? Medi, I'm trying to put your thing out because I know you're a channel member. And we're going to have some more heat drop this week too, Medi. Listen to what it says. Who holds the most of the U.S. debt? Well, China holds the second or the third most now. But the Federal Reserve, remember what I was just telling you about the crackhead smoking his own crack? The Federal Reserve holds the largest portion of U.S. debt now. That's the crackhead smoking his own dope, right? We know how that turns out. And 10 out of 10 times, how good does that turn out for the dope man? When the dope dealer starts smoking the dope that he pushed, when has that turned out good for the dope dealer? Now, let's see. Let's go down to it. It says, David Moss says, I'm a student of history, and the crazy thing is, it's a reversal of, yes, it's a reversal of roles. That's one of the points I'm trying to make. In the late Qing dynasty, their elites did not think the West was a real threat. Hubris is a weird thing. And, history loves repeating itself. And it loves, especially with stuff like this, it loves to repeat itself with the foolish. It does. All of this, we are the unstoppable power. We got to be this. And we think about this. And I'm going to put Mehdi's thing up here, too. I'm going to put it on the screen, then I'll address it. Let's see what it says. Yes, Mehdi, yes. Let me bow to that statement. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. They believe there is no higher being than themselves. That is the only way that you can go on threatening nations with nuclear war. That is the only way you can go on disregarding the livelihood and the sanctity of life for man and mankind around the globe. If you are deluded enough to believe that you are the power, think about this. They'll make international law, America flaunts it. And when she wants to get at somebody, if the person that she wants to get at may be in violation of it, then she points it out and she wants to uphold it. That is, do as I say and not as I do. Let me make and mold the world and the nations into my image and in my likeness. Who said that? That's God. God made man and he made them in his image and in his likeness. America is trying to mold and fashion the world into her image and her likeness. And she's prepared to go to thermonuclear war. Some people say, well, that's an impossibility. We'll never go to thermonuclear war. We'll never do this. Now, I want to tell you something. Let's use common sense. Remember, on this show, you don't get away with foolishness. You don't get away with being able to just say something and just leave it out there. No, we address it. Okay? Unlike all of the other platforms, we address it. Now look here. If every city I go to, you find me raping women, what am I? A serial rapist, right? If every city and neighborhood I go to, you find me going and burglarizing people's and vandalizing people's property, what am I? I'm a thief and a robber, right? Now, if I'm doing this over and over again, and you say, hey, Mehdi says this to David. Hey, David, Rashid is not a rapist. He's not a thief. And Mehdi say, well, the hell you say? Look at this. Everywhere he goes, he just did it yesterday. And Mehdi is like, no, listen, Rashid is not a rapist and a thief. It comes a point where you have to stop holding on to this belief when it is in contravention to reality, right? So if everywhere I go, I destroy, what am I? I'm a destroyer, right? If everywhere I go, I pillage, maim, rape, bomb, steal, and occupy, right? Then what am I? I'm a tyrant, right? So if you have a background of me being a tyrant, a rapist, a murderer, I'm not talking about no one-off thing. I'm talking about everywhere I go, I leave that trail of dissatisfaction and disdain with the people. And then I move to another area, right? And you're warning the people that, oh, no, he doesn't do that. And you say, well, listen, he's lived in 250 towns. And in every one of them, this is what he did. And prior to him doing it, it led up to this point right here. And right after this point where you're talking about, he went and did it. You believe the reality of the situation and not your lying eyes, right? You got to say, hey, that dude, that's bad news right there. And he will rape. He will rob. He will steal. He will vandalize. And if you get in his way, he will kill you. Why? Because that's the reality of the situation, right? So I said that to say this. If we know that America used nuclear weapons one time, twice, in one area in Japan, and we know that she's used some sort of low-yield nuclear weapons either in Afghanistan or Iraq, Libya, I believe it was. I cannot remember what Cynthia McKinney told me. Right now, I'm drawing a blank. But I was invited years ago, right before they went in. Let me share this story with some of you who may not know. But the Honorable Cynthia McKinney, three-time Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, invited me to go on a fact-finding mission with a whole bunch of people. This was right before they invaded and bombed Libya. I was supposed to be over there, and we were going to go around Africa, then have a conference in Europe or whatever like that. So for those of you who don't know this, and so you'll know that I know what I'm talking about. And so I couldn't make it because my partner at the time, he couldn't make it, and so he had some things going on, and I wanted to be supportive at the time, so I couldn't go. But listen. The U.S. used either low-yield nuclear weapons or high-yield uranium, depleted uranium. And so we have a track record of her. Look at what she's doing in Ukraine. She's giving Ukraine depleted uranium, right? So you can't tell me she won't use nuclear weapons when we have a track record that she's done it. You can't tell me, listen, you've got to listen closely. When a person who has ruled so absolutely in the way that America has ruled in the last 100 years, when she is faced with near-peer powers, or she is faced with abdicating the throne because she no longer has the economic and the political wherewithal to rule, you can't tell me that she was not willing to take the word of thermonuclear war. If you don't believe she is, then just look at the situation in Ukraine. Do you believe that America would have allowed Russia to do that on the Mexican or the Canadian border? What America is doing on the Ukrainian-Russian border? Huh? That would constitute what? What kind of danger would that constitute? A grave national security threat, right? Which, according to U.S. policy and policymakers, would be and could be met with the threat of the use of nuclear weapons. Is that not right? Is that not right? I'm asking you this. We've got to understand, and I got my windows up too because it's, the power is out of certain areas. I'm on my solar. So you'll hear a lot of people passing by. You'll hear the children outside and all this stuff like that. But we're good right here on my half acre, okay? We're good here. Check this out. So, do you believe America would allow that? Or what about, let's look at Iran. Iran is encapsulated with U.S. bases. Do you believe that the United States would allow that? Even right now, she gets mad that China is having trade deals and setting up a space antenna in Argentina and in South America. I believe it's in Argentina. It could be in Peru or somewhere down there, or Chile or something. But America thinks that it is her prerogative to rule against everybody. So, again, do you believe that America will allow anybody to do that? David said, Blinken would say, it's not a rape if she moaned. Right. Flying crocodile. Oh, yes, flying. You stay right there for a second. Yo, everybody, hold on 1 second. Let's see, 1 second. Flying crocodile. Let me go right here. Hold on 1 second, everybody. I promised them something, and I'm going to do it right now. Let's see. I see you right here. Let's see. Boom. You got your wrench. It's on you right now. I just wrenched you up, Flying Crocodile 46. Thank you for joining. Listen, again, and I'm doing this solar power, baby. But listen, again, let me say this before I forget and while we're talking. Next week, we're going to have Scott Ritter back on the program. we're gonna have Carl Zarback on the program. A few days later, we're gonna have Mark. I think Martin Saif. I think it's Saif. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Mark. He's a journalist, international journalist, and he does work on Fox News also. He'll be on the show too. I told you we're working hard behind the scenes. We're working hard for you guys. And let me answer this right here. Salute. I try to be a man of my word. Yes, indeed. And Medi think I forgot on him too. But Medi, this week, Medi's going to join the chat too. I'm going to send him out a link. He thought I forgot too, but I didn't forget. Listen. Oh, Medi, he just put it in the chat as I'm talking. He just put it in the chat. Oh, Medi, see there? We're thinking on the same level. You got to come on this week. That's coming up, Medi. You can't escape this. You got to tell the people about your World War II preparation. When you were prepping for World War III and all the, you're a tank guy and all of this stuff. I'm gonna have you on the show too. I didn't forget. And listen, man, he brought it up and I brought it up at the same time. So I'm a man of my word, and I try to keep my word. And if I can't keep my word, I will apologize and I will admit it openly. Humility and humbleness is the way. The universe, by the grace of God, opens up blessings when you show appreciation and humility. And you acknowledge what you can do, and then you acknowledge what you can't do. And acknowledge if you made a mistake or an error. All right? Because if you don't, I know me, when I was young, if I couldn't, my mom would slap the taste out of my mouth. I had one of those mothers that, hey, yeah, get out of line you want to. And Mom, I know you're watching. I love you, baby. Let's see. Let's go into something. Anybody have any more things they want to talk on? Hold on. It's something I want to bring to you. Okay. I wanted to bring you something. This is to show you that the United States is collapsing. All right. Yeah, Medi. Straight up. That's cool. On September 14th, this is what took place. This shows you the decline of American power. I want you to understand this little bit of incident shows you the decline of American power. When would you ever think that this would happen? And by extension, it shows you the decline of UK power. Because, listen, you cannot have one without the other. Both of these are two peas of the same pod. They're two sides of the same coin. The U.S. and Britain, or the U.K., or whichever one you want to call it, okay? That's why they're always marauding around the world together and occupying, and everybody else is a tyrant. Everybody else are killers. Everybody else are dictators, and they're the ones with blood all over their hands. Well, listen, on September 14th, this was reported by Russia Today. And the title of it is this: English language booted from press conference in China. What? Let's say that again. English language booted from press conference in China. It says Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, talking about President Nicolas Maduro, the successor to the great Hugo Chavez, told a reporter to speak Mandarin, declaring it's a new world. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro brushed off a question when asked in English at the end of his visit to Beijing, telling the reporter to speak Chinese instead. Speak Mandarin. There's no English interpreter. Maduro cut off a reporter from Hong Kong. It's a new world, he added. The exchange was captured on video and quickly made rounds on social media. We are in the 21st century, the century of the end of hegemonism and imperialism, the century in which a different, multipolar, multi-centric world was born for peace and unity, Maduro said at the press conference, according to the Venezuelan broadcaster Telazar. If that is not a sign of imperial decline, you tell me what is. If that is not a sign of imperial decline, tell me what is. When did you ever think in your life that you would witness that? When they tell you speak Mandarin. See, this is the threat that America sees. And tell you something. David Moss said, wow, that's amazing. That's what I said. When I read, I was like, are you serious? So what I did, and let me put this up here. I got to put this up here with Mitty. Now, these two comments are in succession of each other, so I'm going to put them back to back. One is by David and one is by Mitty. All right? Wow, that's amazing. And this is Mitty. Boom. So that signifies it's a total shift. There's a new paradigm, right? And as a matter of fact, before this show, I was reading something. Let me pull it up. If I can pull this up, give me 1 second. I hope I still have this up. Oh, yes, I have it, I believe. I have it. Give me a second. All right. Where was it at? Did I send it to myself? Give me 1 second. It might be in my emails. Give me 1 second. I know I just sent it to myself. It was very important. Let me go and see if I can pull this up real quick while I'm on the air, because I don't want to not tell you this. Let's see. It's very important too. I just had it up. Maybe I deleted it by mistake. Maybe I clicked it off by mistake. It was, let's see. Is that it? No, this is it. Oh. It was by Dmitry Medvedev, whichever one you want to call. Dmitry Medvedev. What did he say? It was by Blinken. Excuse me. I'm saying Medvedev. It was Blinken. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Blinken. Let me see if I can search for it real quick, because it's very important. You see this, and it hints at the end of the the unipolar world. Oh, Blinken. Let me see it. See if that'll pull it up. Now remember, I'm on a foreign website, so give me a second. Anyway, Blinken, he acknowledged. I know I saved that. Blinken acknowledged in one of his things that this was the end of the American unipolar world, and he said, I'm trying to think of it. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick, because I want to quote it word for word. Blinken. I knew I had to do that. I messed that up. Let me see if I can pull it up. I cut it off. I don't think I can find it. I saved it. It's in my oh, God is good all the time. Wow. So I'm gonna put it up on the screen, okay? Give me a second. It's gonna take a second on StreamYard. Give me a second, because you know how funny StreamYard acts how they act when I'm trying to pull some up. All right. And I'm Flying Crocodile 46. I'm gonna address you two in a second, okay? Just let me try to pull this up real quick. All right. Let's see if they will allow me to share screen. Share screen. Yeah, I think this one is the one. I think that is it. So, for those of you who are looking, it's about to pop up on the screen in just a second. You know, I got excellent internet, and StreamYard starts cutting up sometime, and YouTube starts cutting up a little bit. But we're going to just have to deal with it for a second, because it's something very important I want to put up on the screen. Is it going to pop up? Let's see. There it is. Look up there. This is from Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State. Growing U.S. competition with Russia and China marks end of previous world order. So what is he saying? This is the fall of America. That's what he's saying. The fall of the so-called rules-based international order. And this is what has them spooked right there. That's what has them spooked. Because when there are different poles of power, you can't dominate exclusively. You can't rule, you can't impose, you can't force your will, your culture, your way, your ideology, your ideas, your thoughts on everybody else. You can't, in essence, mold them and fashion them into the image and in the likeness which you would like. And the threats are no longer relevant because now the other poles of power will arm the other people to inflict bloody noses, a cost too high for the empire to take. Economically, you can't bribe everybody anymore because your dollar is fast losing its currency reserve status and its value, right? This is unacceptable to the West. So Blinken says, what we are experiencing now is more than a test of the post-Cold War order. Listen to what he says. It's the end of it. Did you hear that? It's the end of it. So he's telling you this is the end of the so-called rules-based international order. This is the end of American hegemony. This is the fall of America. This is the fall of Britain. And this is the fall of the Western world as we know it. And this was reported September the 13th by TASS News Agency. And it says, the growing U.S. geopolitical competition with Russia and China marks the end of the post-Cold War world order, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, speaking at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. What we are experiencing now is more than a test of the post-Cold War order. It's the end of it. He noted decades of relative. Listen to this. I want you to listen to this lie infused into the truth. See, they got to throw you a curveball. They just can't give you the truth. They got to throw you a curveball in this. Listen to this. Decades of relative geopolitical stability have given way to an intensifying competition with authoritarian powers. Excuse me. Stop right there. He says decades of stability. You mean when you overthrew Mossadegh in Iran to put in a brutal dictator, the Shah, to be all powerful, or when you promoted war across Africa, the Middle East, when you tried to assassinate your own allies in Italy and across Europe that bucked up against your power? What about you sanctioning and breaking up nations? Huh? Sanctioning nations to the point where the people can be fed by their own governments. You call that relatively stable? Huh? I'm asking. That's relative. In his eyes, what is relative? In his eyes, right? Now, what it says, let's see. Right. It says, and right now my country is on the wrong side of history. That's what he says. All right. So listen, and it says and he called China, Iran, and Russia authoritarian powers. Now, Vladimir Putin came to office, and he has what a 89% approval rate for a population of 158 million people. How the hell is that authoritarian? Huh? Xi Jinping comes to power through the Chinese system, which is what they wanted. And let's just do this right here. Let's just say he's in there on 55% of the people. We're not gonna give him 70%. We're just gonna do the minimum because we want to show you the foolishness of this, okay? 55% of 1.5 billion, right? It's still almost the total population of the Western world, the United States and Europe. So how is that authoritarian, right? We just had elections in Iran, and the United States didn't like it, so they tried another color revolution there. So how is this authoritarian? But listen to this. The very administration that is calling other people illegitimate and regimes and authoritarian, how did they come to power? Huh? A disputed what? Huh? Oh my God. Is that not right? Is that not right? I'm telling you, man, these people are crazy. They are crazy as hell. Now, and think about, I want to bring something else that has a little bit, it doesn't really, I guess we can mold it into this part. But okay, I want you to show you some hypocrisy and some lying by the United States. Okay? Even when you're an ally. Let's take for Turkey. Take, for instance, Turkey. Turkey bucked up against some of what U.S. policy was because Turkey wanted some of Turkey's national interests to trump U.S. national interests, right? So the United States tried to, they didn't just try to overthrow the government of Turkey, they tried to eliminate Erdogan and his entire family. And then they sanctioned the Turkish lira, the Turkish economy, right? Over, they say over the purchase of the S-400s. Now, Turkey was going to buy the Chinese version of the S-300, S-400, but the United States would not allow it. So Turkey opted for the S-400, which is the most modern air defense outside of the S-500, which Russia has, right? The United States had billions of money from Turkey and wouldn't return it, and sanctioned Turkey and threw them out of the F-35 program, right? I'm telling you, these are allies, right? I'm supposed to go to war for you, and you're supposed to go to war for me, right? Listen, the flimsy excuse that they used was that they didn't want F-35s to fly over Turkey's S-400 because Russia could retrieve very crucial and top secret data from the F-35s and the F-22s, right? This is the excuse. I want to point this out because nobody thinks. Okay, listen, and hit the like button. Hit the like button. It doesn't cost you a penny. Hit the like button. All right. So look, that is the narrative that they continue to give, right? They sanctioned Turkey because Turkey bought a S-35 and it was incompatible with NATO standard, even though some NATO nations fly Russian MiG jets, even though Greece has S-300s, a younger version or older version of the S-400. Even though some NATO nations have Panzer systems, air defense systems, which are Russian air defense systems. So now we're looking at the hypocrisy of that, but here's the big kicker right here to show you that they just wanted to target Turkey. Okay. What kind of planes do the United States say they're flying over Syria right now? I'm asking you. Over Iraq and Syria right now. Didn't they say they were flying F-35? And what kind of planes does Israel fly at night to bomb grain storehouses in Syria and in Lebanon? Some people say the F-15, the F-16. No, that's not what was reported by Western intelligence and Western newspapers. They said it's the F-35. Okay, now why is that significant, and how's that showing U.S. hypocrisy? What air defense system does Russia has deployed to the Syrian base down there? I'm asking. Flying Crocodile 46 says, and they have it absolutely right that the U.S. and Israel are flying F-35s, right? As a matter of fact, the U.S. even flew F-22, which was confronted. It surprised the F-22 because it's supposed to be the most modern. Russia surprised it out of nowhere. The radars couldn't pick up a Su-35 that Russia had deployed and intercepted the F-22. This happened about a week or two ago, or something like that. Didn't know that, did you? And it shocked the pilot of the F-22. They kept that under wraps because this is supposed to be America's ace in the hole, the F-22. Now let's get back to the F-35. They did not want any sensitive data to leak out to Russia through Russia's air defense system. Now I ask you, what air defense systems does Russia have deployed to its base in Syria, besides the Panzer systems and the Buk systems? They have the modern, upgraded S-400 systems. So, and yet and still they're flying the F-35s over Syria, and Russia has the very thing deployed that the U.S. sanctioned Turkey from acquiring, because they said that they would be afraid to fly the F-35s over because it would leak sensitive data and top secret information to the Russians. Huh? Can we say a lying hypocrite? Huh? Tell me anybody addressed that before. Talk to me. Tell me, where have you heard anybody address that before? They didn't address it because they didn't know it. They didn't even realize it. America the Western world lies so much that you should call them rugs. Yeah. So let's go to the chat real quick. Yeah. So David says they don't want Turkey. This is what they said. They don't want Turkey to buy the S-400 system because it can detect F-35. And yet the United States flies her F-35s. Israel flies the F-35 over Lebanon and over Syria. And remember, the radar cross section of the F-30 of the S-400s can pick up all of that from its military base in Syria. And it doesn't have one battery of S-400. It has multiple batteries of S-400s there. So now the excuse goes out the window, and we see the reality of the situation. They just wanted to make Turkey eat humble pie and bring them down and say, hey, don't ever cross us again. And you got an ally. Think about this. You think about this. Since we're just talking this Friday night news vampire stream, okay? I'm talking to you guys before I have to go out there and brave the weather and go get my daughter from work. Let's see. It says, I've heard that at David Moss, Russian air defense has full spectrum. Yes. Let me highlight this from Midi. I've heard that at David Moss, he was writing to David in the chat. He says Russian air defense technology has full spectrum targeting, so stealth is not all that stealthy anymore. A Sparrow does not fly at Mach 2. Yeah. So listen, they just wanted to bring Turkey to its knees because Turkey bucked up against the system. Think about this. I'm Turkey, right? And you are the United States. Okay? I want you to think about this. Let's process this for a minute. Let's, like they do in yoga. Breathe in and breathe out. Now focus. Look, check this out. Turkey is begging for antiquated warplanes from the United States, F-15s. Think about this. Turkey is an ally of NATO, and America would not sell them F-15s, but they gave them to Israel, which is not a NATO treaty nation. Think about that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how much of a friend the United States is to Turkey. When America sold Turkey the F-16s, they had friend identifier on there where Turkey's warplanes can fire at Israeli warplanes. Did you know that? It took Turkish technicians to override the passcodes that would allow them to fire at anybody. Did you know that? The United States is the only nation in NATO that had those restrictions on their plane. Did you know that? That their plane could not fire at any plane outside of U.S. direction. But it was Turkish technicians that overrode those things. And now Turkey is begging for antiquated F-16s. And they are a party to the NATO treaty of attack on one nation is an attack on the other one. Now check this out. Turkey is the second largest military in NATO. The second most powerful one too, believe it or not. Check it. They gave Israel they thought it was more in their national interest to give Israel, because Israel didn't pay for those warplanes. They gave it to them through some grant, give back grants. They signed over something, and it looked as though that Israel bought them, but in reality, Israel used the grants that the U.S. gave them to get those planes. Israel didn't pay for squat. And yet they won't give Turkey, a treaty member, those F-35. And guess what else? Up until Russia gave Turkey, sold Turkey those S-400s, Turkey didn't even have air defense systems. America gave Israel technology to develop all of her air defense systems. But Turkey didn't have one. Why? Well, once you look at Turkey and you look at the obvious, it is the only non-Western and only Muslim nation in the alliance. It is treated as a junior partner. That's the only way you can look at it. How is it that I'm supposed to come to your aid and you won't provide me with the wherewithal to defend myself when I need to? Where was because they say they were just talking about invoking the Article 5 because one drone struck Moldovan territory. Man, so what? If I was Russia, it wouldn't be just one. It wouldn't be one. If you sending them, I would mount the rostrum. If a missile or a drone accidentally, quote unquote, strikes NATO territory, then it's NATO's fault for supplying the weapons to Ukraine to fight me. So don't start talking about, well, we might invoke article this and article. Do it then. My troops are dying. My nation is suffering. Then you do it then. It's time for man up. Get you some testicular fortitude and tell the West. Do it then. I'm telling you, I'm a different breed. Listen to me. I'm a different breed. So, again, we look at all of this stuff, and they're screaming about Article 5. Where was Article 5 when Israel commandeered a peace flotilla in the Mediterranean Sea, which was against international law, held hostages, and killed Turkish citizens on board? What was the Article 5 then? That was swiped up under the rug. No Article 5 there. So if they get in trouble, if I was Turkey, I would remind them of this. You remember that? And you didn't want to invoke Article 5 then? We're not doing it this time. Go it alone. Fight them. I got you back, but I'm going to have you back from way over here. What's good for the goose, it has to be good for the gander. See, I think the reason politics is the way it is today is because they don't have any real men or real women to talk to them, to let them know and call out an ace as an ace and a spade as a spade. They like this this transgender. I call the politics transgender politics. You don't know what is what, and if you say something about this, everybody over here get offended. But the reality of the situation is, you didn't do this, you did this, you did this. Now you're going to pay the consequences for this, this, and this. That's just right. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Right? Let me go to the chat real quick. Let's see. They used to flying crocodile. Yeah, they had that. They had that agreement. Let me put this up real quick. Iran put a stop to that one. Iran started deploying their what is it? The Kodar air defense there, and they told the Russians, "Listen, you're supposed to be our air force over here. We're doing the groundwork. Now you can't be just doing it." So now you see, the flights are down by Israel. You see the bombing is down, and then Iran sent a message. Now I have this through good authority from somebody who was in psychological warfare in the United States. They said Iran sent the message to Israel via, what is the embassy that they use? I forget what embassy. I don't want to misquote it. It was some embassy that acts as a directorate in Iran. and they sent a message that if you bomb our command center, we don't care what messages that you put out to the public. Just don't touch these command centers here. If you do that, we will level Tel Aviv. So a lot of the bombing that you see, it's not, and then you see the reporting on it, it's not those command centers that Iran warned them that if they hit, they said they would level Tel Aviv. All right. And so if you look a few months ago, and this was the United States, check this out. I'm going to share some information with you guys that you didn't know. All right. Since we're talking on this real quick. So there was an Iranian general or a major was killed in a bombing by Israel. Immediately when the general was killed, Israel braced for a massive attack by Iran. This is the truth. You might can find bits and pieces of it, go Google it, or you can go over to my Patreon and look through the archives for a few months ago, about what was told to me, okay? They sent the message through the same embassy that I told you about, that they did not intentionally target that. They were fed bad information. Guess who Israel said fed them the information? And they were begging that Iran hold fire and not retaliate, please. So Iran said that they were going to exact retribution for it. So Iran didn't escalate. So what they did, you start seeing the seizure of those ships out there. And then there was a non-Israeli oil tank that was blown up out there. That was in retaliation. And then recently you saw a ship that was filled with former Israeli officers and intelligence officers, and some of them were killed. Go to my website. It's information right up there. I mean, and we point it out. We tell you where you can get some of the stuff, but just go there. What is it? Patreon.com/The Red Pill Diaries. Look up the stuff on Iran and Israel. You get the information. Seriously. So a lot of stuff is not put out there. Yeah. A lot of stuff is not put out there. Now let's see. Let's go to some of them. Oh, we got a lot. All right. David says over 80% of all U.S. Air Force loss is to heat-seeking missiles. Okay. Listen, man, I've enjoyed myself. I think I gotta now let me talk a little bit more with y'all for a few more minutes, okay? But is it anything that you want me to specifically address, or you want to talk back or whatever? I just see something in the chat real quick. As soon as I said that, it said James Alec. Let me see. Let me go and see real quick. Give me a second. James Alex says, if the Israeli government does bad things, it is not anti-Semitic to call them out on it. Any government that does bad things should be called out to the carpet. Yes, but guess what? If you call them out, you're anti-Semitics. I'm glad you brought this point up, because I want to bring a point up, okay? This might get this video demonetized or whatever, but it's the point. Oh man, my sinuses are bothering my ear down. But anyway, check this out. You see in Europe, they have the Quran burning, right? And you see in Ukraine, they're closing down churches, Christian churches, right? So you see on one hand, there's not an uproar in Europe over Ukraine closing down churches and cathedrals. There's not an uproar in Europe about the anti-Islamic, Quranic burning stuff. Like, there's not an uproar in there, right? Nobody went to jail for that. Question some about the Jews. See how long that lasts. See what this is what I keep telling people. I can't go too much because I might get the channel thrown off there. But listen, why is it? And I'm not anti this or anti that. I'm anti lies, anti falsehood. I like the truth. And I think we should be, as grown men and women, we should be having discourse to discuss things. Some things may be uncomfortable and unpalatable for most, but after a while, you get over it. Time heals wounds, right? So listen, why is it that you can demonize Jesus, vilify Muhammad, burn Qurans, throw Bibles in the garbage, blow up mosques and masjids, close down cathedrals and churches, right? And that's not a crime. But to question the legitimacy of what supposed Hitler did, right? That will give you time in prison in Europe. God is not enough to do that now. Questioning God, demonizing Jesus, demonizing Muhammad, closing down churches, blowing up mosques, tearing down synagogues. All that is not enough to get you a lengthy jail sentence and to get you disbarred and disbanded from YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. But you question the narrative that they put out there about Hitler and what he supposedly did will get you banned and get you put in jail. So you telling me that's more sacred than God? That's more sacred than the divine supreme being who created life? Man, if you don't get the hell out of here with this madness, this is what I'm telling you. This system, these platforms, they're punctified. And I'm not going to let you talk bad about Jesus, Muhammad, Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, or any of them. You might as well ban me off the air. How in the hell can questioning some over here be illegitimate, but you can question God and God's make? Think about all the people come on YouTube and question God's existence. That's legitimate, right? But to question what took place under Hitler, quote unquote, that's illegitimate. You can't do that. So you telling me that's more holy, more sanctified and sacred than the divine supreme being? You can go directly to hell with that type of thinking. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Man, I'm telling you this for real. Let's go a little further. Because the hypocrisy has no bounds in this world. This world is crazy as hell. And if you allow them to hit you with that dogma and inundate you with that dogma, then you will be given over to that same craziness that they are. Man, I'm telling you this something. And then the crazy thing about it is they'll make you look as though you're the one off the path. You're the one crazy. You're the one out of time. Man, stop this foolishness. Stop this. Okay? Let's see. Let's go a little further. So, yeah. Let's see. Joel Bradford. You can't be called anti-Semitic when you are Semitic too. You are Arab Asian. We are all from the Shem bloodline, just as how they are not the true biblical Israelites. Look, man, listen, you might have me thrown off the air when I just read that one. Joel, you might get me thrown off the air. Oh, my God. But I'm just reading YouTube censors. I'm just reading a comment. Please don't throw me off the air and demonetize me. Anyway, no, I'm just joking around with you guys. But listen, let's see. Very true. My government certainly does not represent me in any way. I have some morals, honor, and pride left. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people that have morals, honor, and pride left, and they are marginalized by the platforms. They're marginalized by the governments. These insane, crazy as hell people who run government in these platforms. They try to marginalize the same people and make the same people look insane when in reality, they're the ones insane and detached from reality. If you don't believe that they're detached from reality, then look at the policies that they always initiate. That's all one has to do. If you want to see the nature of a butterfly, what does a person who follows a butterfly, what do? They go out into the wild and they follow that butterfly so that they can document his tendencies, his likes and his dislikes, his enemies, and his friends. They do that with all of the animal kingdom, right? Well, if one wants to see who is truly detached from reality, and one wants to see who is really crazy as hell, All one has to do is look at the policy directives and initiatives that are implemented by the governments, right? And if you see that, you say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why did they do that? And then you look around again, that doesn't make sense. Why did they do that? That's letting you know that they are not wrapped too tight. They are insane. Especially when you can see lives. I'm talking about 1 life, 10 lives, 100 lives, 100,000 lives as being dispensable. When you can say it was worth the loss of 500,000 lives. Think about the progress that those 500,000 lives could have brought to the progression of man. The lawyers, the future doctors, the future scientists and stuff that were eradicated by war, poverty, and government policies, because they felt that they knew better, that they could do better, and that everybody should go along with their dictates. Oh, 500,000, 1 million, 7 million, 10 million. Oh, that's enough. I mean, if we have to, we'll eradicate 1 billion. The mind of these people. So don't tell me that America will not use nuclear weapons. That's the mistake that Russia believes. And I'll ask Vladimir Putin, Mr. President, with all due respect, and with your insight, has America ever used nuclear weapons? Mr. Putin would reply, yes, they've used it on multiple occasions. Okay, well, if they did that and they were in a stronger position, now facing you or facing China, they're in a weaker position. You don't think they'll use it? So you have to neuter the nuclear capability by destroying the economic prowess of that person or nation, right? And make it unacceptable for them to use it. Because if you can't fund the upgradement of it, guess what happens? It deteriorates, and then it's no good. So that's why instead of slow walking the decline of the dollar, they should speed it up to siphon off the funding. Because without oxygen, that animal can't breathe. That nuclear animal won't be able to breathe. And if you strangle off the snake, right, and you kill it where the muscles are no longer contorting, there's no longer oxygen to the brain, and the body is dead, and rigor mortis has set in. You may still have to deal with a little bit of the venom, but it's not as potent, and it will not kill as many people because you strangled it and no life is in it. That's how you have to do the nuclear program. You have to strangle it economically. Take the head of the snake and strangle it because it has become a threat to the entirety of man and mankind. They say, ha ha, Joel Bradford say they're not going to like you for spitting that truth. Hey, man, I've been suspended. My channel has been deleted twice. I didn't say suspended, just suspended. I said I've been suspended and my channel have been deleted completely twice. Okay? So, and I get taken out of the search engine, but it's all good. It's all good. I want the world to know this, that what God has ordained, no man can cut asunder. You understand? The progress for development and growth may be a slow grind, but once it gets in motion, that perpetual motion, it'll run over and crush anything in its way. That's this show. We're going to run over and crush any and everything that is an obstacle for common sense and truth. Man, listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to each and every one of you. Don't forget, we got Scott Ritter. We got Carl Czar. Matter of fact, he told me tonight, he just arrived in the United States. He just arrived in the United States, and he's getting his stuff together. He and I are going to talk in a few days or whatever. And we have a Fox News correspondent that's going to be on the show in the coming 7 to 10 days. You guys, listen, like, share, comment, become a channel member. Go over to all of our platforms. On Rumble, on Odyssey, on Locals, which is empowerment, the empowerment of truth.locals.com. Please sign up to my Patreon. Please become channel members. It helps financially. It helps me, and it motivates me to continue this because, hey, YouTube does everything it can to keep me out of that algorithm. I mean, to keep me from growing, you know. But again, I love you all, but remember that my love, it always will pale in comparison to the love that God, the true and living God, has for you all. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Know that your boy loves you. I'm talking about I truly love you. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. I'm out of here.